Hi.
Hi, Lynn.
How are you?
Good, you?
Good. Glad you could join us. Are we good?
We're good.
Microphones on. Cell phones off or silenced, please.
Do that.
It's 6:33 p.m., Tuesday, December 19th, 2017. Sorry, we're running a couple minutes late. We have some agenda adjustments. We're going to do a phone conference call with local director of MDOT at 7:15. So we want to try to stay on schedule with that because he's on the road. So we're going to make some adjustments, but let's, I'm calling the meeting to order. If you'd stand and join us with for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, Randy, please.
Trustee LaRue,
Here.
Trustee Everson,
Here?
Trustee Wiegand,
Here.
Trustee Marks,
Present.
Treasurer Johnson,
Here.
Clerk Rattari is here, and Supervisor Durant.
Here.
Staff present is Jason McCarthy, Township Planner, Zoning Administrator, Manager Gerard, and our legal lawyer, Roger Zappa. Committee members here are Mike Springer from Planning, Recreation, and Roads. Ellie Hillier Genshaw's here from the DDA. And let me see if there's anyone else out there. I think that's it.
Thanks, Randy. All right. Next is public comment, but I want to make sure everybody knows kind of what we're doing since we're moving things around. I want to make sure. Let's just leave public comment open. Normally we kind of gear it to either what is or isn't on the agenda, depending on what we're doing. So we'll just leave it open. If you want to talk about anything, either something on the agenda or not, that's totally fine. So if anybody wants to come up to the podium and speak to us about whatever, 3 minutes, hopefully, and name and address.
My name is Mike Springer. I live at 206 Eagles Nest Road. I'm going to be wearing two hats tonight. One as a citizen and resident, and another one as chair of the rec committee. I've asked a lot of people to come here tonight to help forward a recreation committee action item for 2018, namely the US 41 underpass. So hopefully people will take some time, and I hope you'll listen to them carefully. There's a lot of support behind this underpass, and it really needs to happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Don't be shy. Anybody else wish to give their thoughts?
My name is Don Britton. I live in Chocolate Township. I'm on the Iron Ore Heritage Board and also president of Hiawatha Land Snowmobile Club. I'm totally in favor of the tunnel on the highway out here. I think it's a real safety issue. And it's a good way to connect the north and the south side of 41. And I appreciate your efforts on the tunnel, and I hope it goes through. Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Just step on their toes, that's okay.
That's all right. Hi, I'm Kerry Gottlieb. I live at 1076 in Marquette, 106 Lake Street in Marquette, but I also have property on Eagles Nest Road here in the township. Talking about two separate issues tonight, and I'm going to do it within 3 minutes. I'm president of the Nokemanon Trail Network, and I spoke last meeting as president of the NTN. Tonight I want to speak on the underpass as chairman of the City of Marquette Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Last time I spoke as president of NTN, I mentioned that we have a budget of about $800,000 just for our nonprofit, and with the one economic multiplier I heard of sevenfold, NTN was helping generate about, well, do the math, 800 times 7. So a lot of money generated in the Marquette County, and a lot of it here in the township. But that's what I said last time. Today I want to approach it from the Parks and Rec Advisory Board position in the city of Marquette point of view. We are about to start in the city of Marquette our 5-year master plan for recreation. We're going to start looking at that within the next month. And we're going to be concentrating heavily on trails and silent sports in the city of Marquette, and obviously the land it owns, which includes the Heartwood, which isn't too far from here. I obviously can't commit any Marquette money because I'm just chairman of a little board. But I can't help but wonder if the combined efforts of Parks and Rec Advisory Board, along with the people here, if we can't find a way to work together to raise more money. And I strongly encourage you to pass all resolutions regarding the underpass and the lighting. I think it'll help all of us in the long run with regards to increasing recreation and economic power in this area. The other issue I need to address tonight, I wasn't expecting to, but I want to address tiny houses. We have land on Eagles Nest Road. It's vacant land. We have been considering for quite some time to building a house or camp or cabin there. We have a house in the city. We have no desire to live full-time that far out of town since I work in Escanaba. But I know one of the things we have been considering is building a tiny home. I know there are some reservations among the commission about supporting tiny homes, but I encourage you to approve the zoning amendments as presented. There will be, if I understand it correctly, there is a mandate to run all new construction through the Planning Commission regardless of if it's approved as is. So there will be a additional chance to review any new construction there. And I believe that what we want to put up on our property is what we want to put up on our property, and I think government should take a hands or step back position if possible. And I believe that tiny homes can be mandated or excluded by covenants. If there are no covenants in the neighborhood, there's no covenants in the neighborhood. So I encourage you to consider tiny homes as a viable option.
Okay, thanks, Terry.
I'm Eric Rayhorst. I'm a trustee with the North Country Trail Hikers Association, and we have donated money to this project as a organization and as individuals. I strongly, and I believe the organization, North Country Trail Hikers Association, approve of this construction of this underpass as a safety issue for the public in that corridor. Thank you. My address is 1545 North Wilson Lake Drive, Scandia, Michigan.
Thank you.
And I'm Lorena Jinkerson, 1830 Altamont Street in the city of Marquette. I'm the president of the North Country Trail Hikers chapters based here in Marquette. We manage about 120 miles of the North Country National Scenic Trail, and as you know, it goes through Marquette Township. And we, as Eric just mentioned, have made a pledge to donate money to the underpass project, and I personally have also done so. I strongly urge you to go forward with this. I think we can raise the money, what is outstanding between now and the time that it's due. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Good evening. I'm Carol Falsher. I live at 916 High Street in Marquette, and I'm the administrator of the Iron Ore Heritage Trail. I was here a couple weeks, maybe a month ago, to talk to you about our 5-year plan, and one of the items we're looking at is paving more of the trail, especially through Marquette Township, because we see a lot of use in that area, and we see people using it not only for recreation but transportation. There's a lot of housing development along the trail, the Bishop Woods, Whetstone, Lost Creek. They're using it for transportation to get back and forth. I think the underpass would be the capstone project that gets them safely from one side of the highway to the other. I think this is once in a generation type of project, and I just really think it's a necessity for safety for all people that are in the township and the people that are coming into the area, everybody in Marquette County that's coming back and forth. So I appreciate you thinking about that tonight, and I hope that we get a yes vote.
Thanks, Carol.
Lyle Vanderscaff, 235 Huron Woods Drive, Marquette Township. Thank you again for giving us a chance to speak in favor of this. As I mentioned last time, I'm strongly in favor of it, both as a resident who lives near the underpass and would use it regularly, and as a board member of the Cayman Trail Network, who have been working for years to try to make the connections that would provide a trail network that links all the way around the city. I also just want to mention to the members of the board that after the meeting last time, I did hear a number of concerns from the board members, mostly about the finances of it, and I just would like to, maybe try to remind you that whenever the residents of the township have been asked, not just the people here that are heavily invested in the trail network, but when the residents in general have been asked about trail issues, they've showed very strong support. Carol doesn't mention, but twice the township residents have been asked to support bonds to fund the R&R Heritage Trail, and both times they've overwhelmingly supported adding that as a taxation on themselves to fund that trail. And when the township has surveyed the residents, support for trails in general and trails that are interconnected was one of the highest ranked responses positively favored by members of the township. It was ranked right up there with good road plowing and good streets. I mean, the people of this township have over and over again demonstrated that trails are a real high priority, and that's one quality of life issue that they feel very strongly about. And so I encourage you to, again, like we've mentioned, make this once in a lifetime chance to improve the infrastructure for the trail network. Thank you.
Thanks, Lyle.
Hi, I'm Bill Davis, 3 Northwoods Lane, Marquette Township. I'm here to speak in favor of the underpass as well. It actually, in many ways, affects me more than others because my route into town goes right by where that underpass will go, and it will avoid all the scary snowmobiles going across the road in front of me as I'm going on US 41. I travel that piece often in the winter, and it's nerve-wracking to see the snowmobiles piled up there on the side waiting for that chance to dash across. It really is a big issue. Personally, I'd love it so I could bike and do those kinds of things too, but my biggest concern is how dangerous that is. As a township, we've approved the usage of ORVs and other things on our township streets. It seems like this is an extension of that. When we've approved people using them, we should be providing a safe way for them to cross US 41. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
I'm Carson Vanderscaff. I live at 235 Huron Woods Drive, and the underpass for US 41 would be really big for me because I like to mountain bike, and when my parents can't drive me to the south trails, I have to go up behind my house and cross by where the Best Buy intersection is, and that's like dangerous for me because cars normally don't see me when they're turning left, so I have to go really fast across. And it wouldn't benefit me and my family, but it benefit like tons of people. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Anybody else?
Dan Pompo, 2422 Cherry Street. It would appear that I'm going to be in the minority here, but I'm not a member of any of these organizations nor on their boards, so I guess I'm going to have to speak as a resident from my standpoint. If you accept MDOT's recommendation, you are putting the township in having to make any payments that you do not get from your grants or whatever. You have 2 grants that you talk about for the lighting that you could possibly get, which has a $50,000 match also on it. That's if you get the grants. And there's talk about other grants from other places for the underpass if you get the grants. But the minute you commit to MDOT, if you don't get those grants, the money has to come from the township. The township itself, as we all know, is not doing the greatest in financially right now. Congratulations on getting $25,000 from KBIC. Although, if I remember right, Trustee Marks requested a letter sent to KBIC asking for donations to curb the taxes that would pay for the ambulance that the township residents have to pay, but apparently they must decide that the underpass is more important than the ambulance. So I guess that's where that would come from. So I just want you to realize that when you vote, you still have to respond to the residents of the township. And we were told from day one, this is not going to cost a penny to any of the township residents.
Thanks, Dan.
Joe Shetter, 220 Chapel Ridge, 2 parts. I'm in favor of the underpass. Second part, I want to discuss, and you brought up the ambulance. I'm not sure the logistics of the ambulance, if it's currently in use or not. I would go back to the thing, I think we need to keep the sheriff's patrol as is before we add on another liability of an ambulance. I don't know the logistics of it, but I'm guessing the hospital is 2 to 3 miles from the township, so we're duplicating a service that is already provided by the county through the hospital. I don't know what the collections are on the trips from the ambulance, but I want to really have you think about the sheriff's department before adding on another cost through the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to give their thoughts? Okay, then we will close public comment. And this would be next was board member comment in response to public comment. Does anybody want to comment on what they've heard? Yes, no? Dave?
I would just comment that I appreciate all the support that we're showing for the underpass tonight, and the board members, I think, will have ample opportunity to comment on that when we get down to that agenda item. But I appreciate your support.
Anybody else? I have a couple thoughts. In the beginning, when we first heard that it was going to cost us $500,000 to do the tunnel, I was definitely going to vote no. Because if you've looked at our budget at all, and we're going to approve it tonight, it's about as tight as I don't know what. When we have to take funds from one account just to cover our regular expenses, you know, in 2 accounts and 3 accounts, there's no way we could have committed to $500,000. There's no way. And I'd asked that maybe we had 2 more weeks from MDOT to try to finalize some of the grants and contributions that people were saying they were going to give us. We have seriously done that. People have come up and stepped up and come forward, and Jason will give you that report shortly. And I am going to vote to support this tonight because I believe we will not spend 1 penny. The second thing is, I don't have the statistics in front of me, but our ambulance is running probably 80% calls, and I would say almost all of those are reimbursable. So where we were not having money coming in before, those emergency calls were we would just pay for them. We paid the help or the supplies or whatever, the gas for the fire truck or whichever vehicle we were taking. Now, most of those EMS calls, you know, good 80%, we're going to them anyway, and we're getting health insurance reimbursements on them. So it has definitely been a win-win for our public, our visitors, anybody coming through the township. They're getting to the hospital faster. We're not competing with the hospital and their group. They're happy to have us on board because they're spread kind of thin. We have a huge county. At any given time, somebody could be calling in Sands, and the ambulance is down there. There's about 6, I believe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. 6 ambulances in the county, and ours is the 7th. So they could be transporting to Ann Arbor. That leaves the county pretty short. So when we decided to consider this ambulance, we looked at all of those factors. It's not going to make money, but we really believe it will pay for itself. We'll know probably in a year. But we're going to also talk about that probably in June. We're going to look at it if we can. But I just wanted to give you some of that information. Next up is the consent agenda. And we're not going to pull anything out of there, but we do have a, trying to find it on here. We have a resolution to read? Budget resolution?
That'll be under
Budget adoption.
policy discussion. Then.
Oh, this is all the budget?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Because normally we would just approve that in the consent agenda. So, I will read the consent agenda for tonight. Tonight includes approval of the regular minutes of December 5th, bills payable in the amount of $160,394.15, budget amendment 2017-11, that's what I was looking at. Okay, so we will do a roll call on this.
Correct.
Received committee and other reports tonight, including the fire department's business and officers meeting draft minutes of November 13th and December 11th. Fire chief, fire marshal's activity report from November. The sheriff's report from November. The road committee approved minutes of November 8th and the draft minutes of December 5th. Recreation committee agenda of December 19th, draft minutes of November 21st, and approved minutes of October 17th. Peter White Public Library Township Advisory Council minutes from September 7th, and the winter 2017 and 18 newsletter. My report, the financials from November, and correspondence not requiring board action tonight is the donation from the Keweenaw Bay Indian community for the US 41 underpass.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and support, and roll call.
Trustee Marks?
Present and yes.
Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee LaRue?
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Trustee Everson?
Yes.
Treasurer Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Durant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we need approval of the rest of the agenda, so we will make some changes. It's 5 to 7. In item 7, community linkage, number 2 is coming off. That's Board of Review Resolution 12-119, or 1917. Meeting dates, that will probably be on the next agenda, I'm hoping. So I'm going to put that down. And in place of it, we are going to move 8, 6, consider MDOT resolutions. We're going to move that up. It's a little bit early yet. Should we move it up to 3 maybe and keep 2 for the plan of work, since we've got a little bit of time, or can we call him early? Yes, Randy?
To take a roll call vote on the budget resolution.
We did.
We're not there yet. We're not there in that
It's in
spot.
the consent agenda. The
No.
budget-
No, that was the
budget
first,
amendment resolution.
Budget amendment was in the
just
consent
the
agenda.
amendment was. That's what I was looking for in the beginning. I thought we had 2.
It's identified as a resolution.
Right, but that's why we did a roll call on the consent agenda.
Under 8-1, that's where the budget adoption, that's where we'll do the roll call
That'll be
vote.
separate.
Yeah.
Okay, so can we call him early, or should we
Try, I
continue?
guess.
Okay, I'll finish with the agenda then. Well, I guess that's the only change. So I need a motion to approve the agenda, removing Board of Review resolution and moving up 8.6, consider MDOT resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. This stuff, it's usually pretty cut and dried.
I'm not sure he's going to be in a position to be able to take the call. We told him 7:15. He's traveling, so I think he was planning on pulling off somewhere to take the call.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's fine. We can keep going.
Keep going till 7:15 then.
Okay. Let's do the discuss 2018 plan of work and agendas then. You received, and it's not in here, it's not in the, you should have had in your mailboxes the spreadsheet and the recommendations that I was making on policy governance. I don't want to actually go through all of this tonight. I want to maybe have a work session or something, but I wanted to broach the subject with you. Randy did policy governance interpretation. You should have that too. And I wanted to make sure that you were kind of in the thought process of the items we wanted to talk about next year. That's the whole idea of the plan of the plan of work, I think is what she calls it for the year. And that's one of the agenda items that we really don't cover now because we don't have that annual plan of work. It involves not only what the public is telling us, but what we're telling them, the communication side of it, and I think I have it with me. Did everybody kind of see what I was trying to show you with the calendar and the recommendations? Okay. We don't have to necessarily do it now. We can do it at the end of the meeting, maybe even to set up a work session.
I think it'd be better to wait.
We don't have to make everybody wait.
All right.
But I did want to broach that with you so that you kind of had a clue what we're going to work on. And I'd like to schedule it in January if we can, so then we can set the rest of the year to talk about it. Okay, so I'm going to put that on January's agenda, along with the Board of Review resolution to schedule. Okay, now we're still running too fast.
I can give him a call, see if he's there.
I heard. Could. I'm thinking maybe we could have Jason do this.
Hi, Rob. This is Clerk Rattari for Marquette Township. We're actually ahead in the agenda right now. Are you available to speak with us? Okay. I'll put you on the speakerphone, so when you're ready to go, we'll go. He's ready. He's gonna go to a quiet location, but he's ready to go.
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
Randy, did you want to coordinate the discussion with him or Jason? Which is the best way to?
Both can, actually.
Jason, you want to come up to the microphone just in case? And you can kind of both. Sure.
All right, can you hear me okay?
I hear you good. I'm going to put my microphone down here too. Rob, this is Lynn Durant. Hi there. Thanks for helping us out with this.
No problem.
We have about a half-packed boardroom. A lot of people are here. They've already made comments about the tunnel and how they feel. We've got quite a bit of support. Jason McCarthy's here, and I thought maybe you could introduce yourself for the public and give them kind of an overview of the project or whatever you wanted to share.
We can actually lead in on this. You know, this first came to your attention at your November 21st meeting. It was a requested resolution from Michigan Department of Transportation, the Ishpeming Transportation Service Office, through Rob Turbo, that came to the board, which is a document that they need here locally to proceed with the design and engineering of the two projects that are being talked about in conjunction with their 2019 project. That would be the construction of the two roundabouts. Our portion of that would be responsibility for the lighting and responsibility for the aesthetics, let's say, of the roundabouts, the plantings, those kinds of things. And in conjunction with that is the crossing, the tunnel crossing. So MDOT, in order to be able to expend, and Rob, you can correct me on wherever you want to jump in here, but in order for them to begin to expend their funds for the design and engineering of the two projects, they need to have a resolution of support from the governing body that's going to be responsible. In our case, that's for the lighting for the two roundabouts and for the design and engineering and the financing, basically, of the tunnel crossing. The board has opted to separate those into two separate projects, the roundabout project being a transportation project with US 41 M28, and the tunnel being a recreation project under the recreation plan. And we are pursuing separate fundings for those projects. So what you have before you tonight, again, is the resolution that first came to you on the 21st of November at your meeting, which you deferred to December 5th to give us an opportunity to explore some other alternatives and issues with MDOT, and is back on your agenda now in its original format, as well as a separated into two resolutions from your council that put a contingent in the resolutions that would be reliant upon receiving the appropriate funding from external sources. It is still your intention not to have township funds being involved in the project, and that has been transmitted to Mr. Turvo previously, and there are some issues from the MDOT side of it with the contingencies included in the draft separated resolutions. Rob, does that put you in a place where you can respond?
Sure. Yeah, thanks. I think everything that you said sounds correct. So yeah, I'm Rob Turbo. I'm the manager at the MDOT Ishpeming office, and we're the managing office for the project. And I did create the draft language that I submitted on for consideration. And the purpose in that language is just to gather commitment and also to make sure that we're being transparent and way up front, and that everyone is aware of the commitments that we're going to be asking for, which actually get brought together in an agreement, which will be coming out later in 2018, more towards when we'd be getting ready to advertise the project for construction. So as Randy said, there's the two different parts of the project where the township has this responsibility, the one being the enhancement grant or the Transportation Alternatives Grant for the tunnel and the trail. And on that portion of the project, we are at a point where we need to begin designing in order for us to be able to deliver that project on schedule with the rest of the project that we already have begun designing. So we're going to be expending funds here very shortly, and all the funding, is set up. The nearly $1.5 million of federal transportation alternative funding, just about $500,000 of MDOT matching funds, and then there's this portion of just about $500,000 of local match, which the township is responsible for gathering, and most of that sounds like it won't be township funding, or maybe none of it. So that's just, we're looking to get that commitment that we do have a good project going forward in that regard. And then the other issue is the roundabout lighting, and we're unable to pay for the roundabout light or the lighting except for freeway lighting, which this is of course not, or if we're replacing existing lighting that exists because of a construction project. So similarly, we are looking to get a commitment on that, and in addition to the financial commitment for paying for those portions of the project, also a commitment to own and operate those portions of the project. So in a nutshell, that's where we're at. Like I said, we do need to move forward with our design in order to stay on schedule as far as the enhancement or the tunnel and the trail go.
That's pretty good. Okay. Jason, do you want to give everybody an update where we are today?
Sure.
Rob would probably like to hear it too.
So I've handed the board, as of 5 o'clock today, a manifest of donations and or pledges from 44 different local residents, businesses, and or agencies, associations in the community. As of November 21st, we had a remaining balance due of $125,000. Since November 21st, we've raised $97,595. I would like to thank and recognize the following larger donors. Of course, at some point in the future, every individual who contributed to this project will be recognized, but for the sake of this meeting, I'd like to recognize some of the larger donations that came forward within the last 4 weeks. The 906 Adventure Team, the Margie Jessic 100, and NTN, and the RAMBA, or the Range Area Mountain Biking Association, came through with $15,000 today. I don't know how they did that, but thank you very much. Roger Berry and his wife donated $1,000. Eagle Mine came through with $25,000. KBIC 2% fund distribution for November of this year contributed $25,000 additional dollars towards our project, bringing their total to over $40,000. We still have one more cycle with them in the spring, if need be. As you know, the Meyer Foundation contributed $25,000. And in speaking with the DNR today, they have a pledge of $20,000 through the DNR's Recreation Improvement Fund that they're pledging. Lori Nelberg-Wiesen, who's in the audience tonight, contributed $250, and there are a couple of additional smaller donations that came through on the GoFundMe page. The remaining balance that we have left of the $500,000 match is $27,405 between now and October of next year. With that being said, Eagle Mine contributed $25,000 and suggested that we apply, as we were planning on anyway, to the 2018 Rural Development Fund grant, of which they are a huge contributor to, if not 100% contributor to. This grant program, the application is due by the 16th. The award will be in mid-March, and it targets infrastructure, tourism, and projects in Marquette County. Spoke with Representative Combenzi prior to the meeting today, and she is going to activate her staff to ensure that everybody is aware of our project within her network. And I am 99% sure that this project is going to be funded without any taxpayer funding whatsoever. In fact, I believe we're going to have a surplus, which is great because you're always going to have cost overruns and things that occur. So I'd rather have a little bit of excess than be straggling throughout the summer and not have enough. So I suspect that our complete funding package would be complete by the end of March of 2018.
Good job.
No, I think we're all I think we're all in agreement that it appears as though the underpass will be funded totally, essentially, with funds from outside sources. With regard to the lighting of the roundabouts, a little bit of history, as you'll recall, when MDOT originally proposed their project in 2019, it was simply to extend the boulevard section of US 41 M28 west of Walmart with a boulevard section like we have through the rest of the corridor, possibly as far as the Ford dealership. As part of that discussion, they were looking at the ways to better design the intersections at the Walmart and Target intersection and at the Brickyard intersection. And at that point, they were looking at what's called the super street concept, which included widening those intersections and putting additional turn lanes in, double turn lanes. The concern that has always occurred at both of those, or been prevalent at both of those intersections, is the 90-degree crashes, the side impact crashes that have been occurring at those intersections. And as a result of that, with the review of the US 41 Corridor Committee, the DDA, and several other groups, there was a decision made that they would like to try to avoid those T-bone type of collisions, which led to the discussion of the roundabouts. That's why you have the proposal before you now for putting roundabouts in that would have continuous right turns for the trucks coming off of Wright Street. They would not have to stop on the hills. They would not have to move, and avoidance of the 90-degree impacts and provision of pedestrian crossings at both of the roundabouts. And that basically got support from township staff, and it got support from law enforcement and a number of other entities. That's how it got to where it is now. The estimated cost of that is $250,000. That includes full lighting on both north and south side, roughly 1/8 of a mile on the approach from each directions to each of the roundabouts. That $250,000 is predicated on all new lighting and all new infrastructure being put in place with those. What we would be looking at doing to reduce that cost, first of all, is on the north side, as you drive, you'll notice that there are utility poles all the way across on the north side. We would use the existing utility poles and not replace those with other types of poles, and simply affix an arm and an illuminating head on those poles. We don't have that luxury on the south side, so we would have to provide that. Those poles installed about $10,000 a piece. That's where the estimated cost comes from. A week ago, last Friday, the Road Commission, working with us, submitted an application for a safety grant that would cover the cost of that lighting. And we have not heard back yet regarding the effect of that application, but we were strongly advised, strongly suggested that we apply for it. The indication is that from a safety standpoint that we would be a very high rating for that grant. We're also looking at some USDA grants as well that would come into that play. So that's where we are as of today. I think you're hearing from both Jason and I that I think we will be in a place to be able to address both projects without township dollars being involved. So it's up to the board as to whether you wish to go into the resolution. The resolution basically says that you are agreeing to enter into a contract at some point in the future with MDOT.
Rob, I have a couple questions for you. When exactly would the township turn these funds over to you? I hate to say pay it because it looks like we're paying it, but we'd be responsible to pay it. So once your bills start coming in for engineering or whatever, would we start paying you then, or do we do it halfway, or do we make a deposit, or how does that work?
Right. So the design for the tunnel and the trail, we would be advanced designing that. You won't be signing the agreement or contract that Randy referred to until in the fall of 2018. And then at that point, there's going to be, the money would have to be deposited. So you wouldn't have to pay the design cost as you go along. But yes, when you, after you sign that contract in the fall, then you have to pay for those portions or put them down as a deposit.
Okay, so we have October 1st as the date that we're required to have this all done. Is that about when we'd sign the contract?
Yeah, it's about when the job goes out for advertisement for December letting. That would be about October 1st, give or take. Yes.
Okay. And have we got a contingency built into this? Or do you, I should say? Do you have
Is there a contingency built into the estimate of the project?
Yes.
There is a small contingency. I don't have the printed out estimate with me right now, but there is a small contingency, I believe, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that part was covered. So what we would be agreeing to tonight is just to, I don't know what the correct word would be, sponsor the project. And then, like you said, the contract would be next year. It actually starts falling.
Yeah, if you accept the resolution as proposed by MDOT, what you'd be committing to would be negotiating a contract October 1st of 2018 to proceed with the project.
Okay, now we actually have 3 resolutions. So we have the original one that Rob supplied, and the board had asked that the 2 projects be separated, so we have 2 more. And I think Rob has seen those, right? Jace, did you?
Correct.
Yes.
You guys came from, okay. Do you want to comment on those, or tell us what you think we should or shouldn't do, or before anybody makes a motion?
Are you asking me, Lynn?
Yes, I'm sorry. Are you okay with the 2 resolutions, or how do you feel about that?
Okay. I guess I don't know what they look like in front of you tonight. I know that the ones that I had seen had essentially made, there was contingencies in there which basically said that if the funding sources don't come available, then it was contingent completely on getting the funding. I mean, I guess we're looking for a bit more than that of a commitment in a resolution form to say that we are, your confidence is that you will have the funding, you know, to put forward. And that's particularly important on the tunnel and the trail project because we need to, there's a township participation in the design of that, and I need to make sure that we have that commitment to move forward. On the lighting portion, we are already under design for that, including the lighting. So that's not as pressing of an issue to have that immediately. But I do, you know, we do need to know on that portion that the township is going to pursue that funding and also, you know, agree to own and operate those lights. So as far as the 2, if you're separating the 2, the tunnel and the trail is very important that we would have a non-contingent resolution. The other one, I would say, and Randy described some of the things that he's looking at doing to reduce some costs, and there is also some existing area lighting at the Brickyard intersection, which, since we are impacting it, that we are able to pay for, you know, there's I think 2 lights there, and pay for that lighting that we're taking out, and that would make that $250,000, I would say, a maximum amount, and it's probably going to be somewhat less than that as far as the end bill. We of course don't know exactly what that number would be at this time, but we're going to try what we can to make it as reasonable as possible.
Rob, the 2 resolutions Lynn's referring to are the same ones that you saw.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm not, that doesn't, with that contingency, it doesn't really do that much to solidify that commitment, particularly in regards to the tunnel and trail.
Okay, so what you would recommend then probably is we'd accept the first resolution and go with that, correct?
That would be my ask, yes.
Okay. All right, Dave's got his hand up.
Just to get this off the dime, I'd like to make a resolution, or make a motion that we approve the resolution as originally submitted by MDOT.
I'll second that.
Motion and support. Comments? John?
Just a question. This is a commitment. Everybody better know that that's exactly what it is. There's no way to avoid payment of it if you can't find the money some other way. So it's a commitment that you're extending the township's faith behind. That's what you're doing. That's what this motion is doing.
Yep. Dan?
Yeah, I've heard nothing, well, I've heard, in the several weeks that we've been discussing this, I've heard two comments negative. One was tonight from Mr. Pompo, and the other one was just somebody on the street. But I've heard overwhelming support for it. I've always said that I wasn't going to support it if we had to pay any money out of taxpayers' dollars. I don't see that as being a problem. We've got a year to basically collect $27,000 for the tunnel project, and therefore I'm gonna vote for it.
I think this is just the lighting.
Is this on the lighting that you made, Dave?
Both.
Original resolution.
It's on both projects.
Okay. The lighting, we need to have it.
But Jason brought up earlier about the donations from the larger ones, but all the other residents and other people, individuals who want to donate, that their donation is very important also. We don't want to say that they're not.
Are you happy to distribute
Exactly.
the 44 different entities so far? We know that there's other funding out there that's going to come forward. They weren't able to commit by tonight's meeting, but we know there will be additional funding. So of the $196,250 that we needed to raise, we've raised $168,844. That's incredible.
Well, kind of minus the 5,000 you had us down for.
Well, yes. Yeah,
And with with more and more biking and stuff like that's going on, and if we could save one young man's life, it just, that's how you have to look at it. I've seen many people trying to cross the highway, not only here but other places, and I think the underpass will really help them and help the recreation in the area and give them some distance to go, around here. So
This hasn't been,
I'm in favor of it.
thanks, Pete. This hasn't been disclosed yet, but we really have a lot to thank. We should be thanking the snowmobilers of the state of Michigan, because on the south side of the highway, $14,000 has been expended from their self-taxing. It goes through the DNR, and they improve those trails and connections as they can. $14,000 has been spent on the south side to connect the R&R Heritage Trail to the proposed underpass location already. And on the north side, we have secured easement from Riverside, from Otavero Development, and they'll be continuing to work forward. Now remember, our project is a Safe Routes to School project, so as soon as that tunnel daylight's on the north half of the highway, we're going to be coming back up to the highway grade and going with a pathway to the roundabout at Target and Walmart. And that'll terminate the project in 19, and then in 2021, our hope is to connect over to Wright Street and then up to North Star Academy to meet up with our other Safe Routes to School pathway. Remember, this project was much more marketable and scored higher as a Safe Routes to School orientated safety project than it did as a straight recreation project. So there's $42,000 that has been raised and used by the snowmobile group to facilitate their permanent stake in the matter too. So, there's all these individuals, and I'll make this list public after the meeting here, but I wanted the board to see that first. There's all these individuals, but again, I have to thank the DNR, MDOT, countless hours of staff time, a lot of time on the phone. I'm not saying it's done yet, but there's a lot of people going to bat for all of us here today.
There are a couple people in the audience that I wanted to mention. You did mention the big ones, Jason, but Up the Sky, 5,000 from Up the Sky, which is a project that hasn't even hit the ground yet. Great Lakes Conservation Corps, Hiawatha Snowmobile Club, Iron Ore Heritage Rec Authority, 5,000. I don't know how to pronounce Cloet, maybe. Two of the Cloet families, there's 6,500 between them. KMK Cycling Club, and the Business Association Marquette Township, 2,500. 1,000 from Mike and Michelle Moran, and 1,000 from North Country Trail Hikers and Kathy Peters, 350. So those are pretty substantial just from, and then there's more, hundreds and tens and 25s. So So it's a pretty comprehensive list. And I believe you said today that we pretty much have checks for all of this stuff?
Yeah, these aren't soft pledges. Most of the money is accounted for already.
Right, right, so.
And we
that's
intend to
another
use that
benefit.
as matching funds on that rural development. We'll have likely a 100% match on our application, so it should score very high.
Dave, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just think with respect to the recreation aspect of it in the tunnel, I think the planning department and the residents and the businesses in the area have gone above and beyond to make sure that this happens. And I don't think there's any doubt. There's no doubt in my mind that it's going to come to a zero involvement by the township. And I think the planning department should be commended on the effort they put forth in this.
Agree.
And
Excellent.
with respect to the roundabout lighting, we've gotten support from the Business Association, we've gotten support from the DDA, and we have commitments that they're going to make that happen, because I mean they've been clamoring for improved business corridor and improved lighting and safety for the residents for years, more years than I've been sitting here and doing different things within the township. And I don't think there's any doubt that they're going to come forth and make this happen. And I think both of these are going to happen. There's not going to be any dollars that are going to have to come out of the township budget. It's not really right to say come out of the township, because we've already got the generosity of the residents in this township that are putting forth. But to actually come out of the township budget, I think that's going to be $0.
Ernie?
Been kind of quiet, because I always ask the question, where's the money coming from, all the way down the line.
Where's the
and that.
beef?
That's what I'm concerned with in that. Because I look for the future of the residents, what you're gonna be stuck with in the future in that, and that's what I'm biggest concern. Everything is coming up is great. The possibilities, the utilization of that is fantastic in that. And I think the dollars that have been raised by the staff has been fantastic in that, more than I had ever expected to happen in that. I was very surprised in that. Back to the lighting, as I said before, when MDOT came to us and showed us the roundabouts and that whether we have roundabouts or not, to me, it don't make any difference one way or another on the highway and that too, so. But there was no discussion at that time, no indication that we would have to be funding any type of lighting or any type of anything on the roundabouts. And all of a sudden, it became known that we're going to be responsible for somehow coming up with $250,000, whether it's our funding or grant fundings and that. I think that was an illusion that was not provided to us. It was an illusion to get something done and that. And I think MDOT has to assume that what they did was not upfront at the time. Whether they like it or not, I don't really care. I just don't see that we have to pay for lighting when it was never said anything to us at the beginning in that. So that's my biggest concern, is what are we as a township going to be left with overall in that? It sounds like the underpass is probably going to be funded. Comments made here that the lighting will probably be funded too. But it's just that my concern is that if we go ahead and approve this resolution,
Commitment.
it's a resolution, but it's also a commitment to the township in that. If this does not come to pass, we, the residents, all of them, are going to have to come up with the dollars in that. So that's my feeling.
Yeah, what we'd be looking at, and I don't want to put Rob on the hook here, because throughout this entire process, while we've been doing the corridor study and the design studies of the road over the last 3 years, there's always been an indication that we would ultimately be responsible for any of the lighting, because federal funds doesn't pay for it. So staff-wise, we've known that, and we've from the committee structure, we've known that. The DDA has known that. The road committee has known that. So that's always been part of this picture. The question is how many lights, and that's with the roundabouts the way they're set. With a roundabout, it's 1/8 of a mile on each approach end. So what you would be looking at at the at the Brickyard intersection and the Walmart Target intersection would be very similar to what was just constructed in the city of Marquette at Grove Street and at the hospital. Would look very similar to that. That's the lighting we're talking about. So it is for sure your riskiest option is the lighting part of it. We do have commitment from the DDA to participate in it. And we do have a commitment from the Road Commission to be the broker, if you will, for the grant that they have applied for on our behalf. That would cover the full cost. We also have a commitment from local financing. If we have to come up in October of 2018, if we have to sign a contract and there are funds, we have access to local funding to carry us until the grants come through or whatever. But I just want to pass that along, that we have known that.
I think what Ernie was saying was when they brought us the schematics and they
Oh,
said,
correct.
"Thinking about putting
That's
a
true.
roundabout here and here, what do you think?"
Yeah,
We
no.
said, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, at that point, they were not talking lighting at that
We
point.
know
That was strictly
that's
design.
not right
Yes.
away, so we said, sure, sounds great, if you want to do it, go ahead.
We do expect that the two roundabouts will slow the traffic in the corridor, just by virtue of what's happening in the city. If you observe what's going on with the two roundabouts that were put at the hospital and at Grove Street, traffic has slowed. So that's one of the options, one of the alternatives that we've had through the corridor for years, was to try and slow the traffic down.
Rob, any comments or thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And I mean, I guess I just want to say that I believe that we've mentioned the lighting ever since we started talking about the roundabouts, and I think it was discussed briefly at that meeting back in March. Also, and I think Randy, I think you hit on that. But I believe the first time we talked about roundabouts, we talked about how the lighting would have to be addressed. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. We certainly have tried to be as transparent as possible, and maybe not everyone was at each meeting. I'm not sure. But we made no attempt to hide that portion of the project. It's always been an element that would be a commitment. And I guess in further, as I noted before, there is some portions of that where the cost can be reduced, and we will have a bit of a share there at the Brickyard intersection to replace some existing lighting. So also make sure that you're aware of that. But certainly a decision not for me to make, for the township to make, and that's all I wanted to say on that.
Sure, thanks. Anything else from the board? John?
I've thought from the beginning that the improvements to be made on 41 would ultimately require to be finalized lighting. Lighting's always been something that needed to be thought of, even though perhaps it wasn't thrown out to us. But there's another concern that I have, and that's with the tunnel itself. Until the design of the tunnel is put into such a state that one can take a look at it and decide whether there's going to be sump pumps, whether there's going to be cameras for security, whether there are going to be screens looked at somewhere. But basically just the design of the tunnel, which is yet to be created and yet to be studied. I don't think the township really knows, has a really good handle at all on the maintenance of that. And while a lot of people are going to be using the tunnel, a lot of people from all over, it's going to be the township board and its budget that's going to pay for the maintenance of that tunnel. I know there are people that don't agree with me, but I think it's a concern that we shouldn't step into. I have no problem with the highway lighting, because I think you're gonna get that anyway. But until we know a little bit more about the tunnel and and all of the things that are going to come with the design of it. Because they're gonna make a good design, one that'll last, because once it's built, they don't wanna come back. So they're gonna build a good tunnel, and they're going to, if they are allowed to do it, and they're going to do it in such a way that it will be maintained. And they tell you that. It's been in all the language that we've read on talk about the tunnel. If you build it, or we build it for you, you own it. And that's something that the township hasn't really accepted yet. And they shouldn't accept it till they know more about it.
Okay, thanks, John. Jason?
Trustee Marks, I appreciate your comments, and you always come up with something new when we seem to have other things covered. I know that the Township Board hasn't been able to contribute to this project financially, and that's been a difficult thing to explain to multiple local, state, and federal agencies. But I would sincerely appreciate a unanimous vote on this to move forward tonight. Thank you.
Pete?
You talk about the design, that's all you have to do is, if you want to take a look at a design of how it's made, and that is stop in Chalkley, 7th Street, and you'll see how it's going to be designed, the width of it, the height of it, where the lights are, where the cameras are. It's a good example, but it's going to be longer, if you want to just see what it's going to look like. So they have one in Chalkley, and they also have one on 7th Street. And so if you want to just walk through it a couple times, just, that's a good start. And then also the volunteerism of the people of the trails and stuff like that, it's hard to believe how hard they work and how much they really do. So that's going to help. And biking and walking and jogging, I don't know if I'll be there, but I mean, there's a lot of people, and it's going to continue on. That's why this whole area of Marquette County is built up as if Negaunee, Ishmael, Marquette City, and they're all building up a recreation. It's not going away. And so I think it's very important. I think it's a good thing to do.
Okay, Jason, once more?
Just, one of the things that Rob didn't tell you tonight is that the design and engineering for the lighting is covered by MDOT. The only thing they can't pay for, they're paying for everything else besides what they can't pay for. Secondly, the tunnel that was developed when I worked in Ashland, Wisconsin, connected the waterfront trail to the downtown with a handicap accessible grade. In 2010, that project cost $1.1 million. This budget for this project is $2.5 million, above and beyond the highway project. So we're hopeful that there's ample funding available through a federal grant to cover this project. And I know that contingencies or cost to overruns or that type of thing has been built into this. They've been very conservative in their estimates, let alone that the trail on the south side of the highway is built already. All you have to do is put some pea gravel on it. And the DNR is stepping up and carrying things out and developing trail on the north side, and it's not even really public yet that they're doing that, but that's what they're doing behind the scenes. So it's not like we're taking a shot in the dark, and I think all these people here that have either donated to the project, provided easement, or the press who's been there to create awareness about the project, they're all going to be good stewards of this no matter what. And they're not going to let the thing dilapidate. There's going to be enough people going through there that if there's an issue, they can call the township and we'll try to figure it out. Let alone the agreements that we have in place for winter maintenance by the DNR and tentative agreements with trail networks for summertime maintenance. It's only for the segment that goes from the Iron Heritage Trail to the highway, because the rest of it will be DNR trail, secured through easement in perpetuity for the enjoyment of all.
And I remember, Jason, when we started talking about this, you were kind of concerned, and I think Randy mentioned it too, that it didn't look good, and you mentioned it just now. It didn't really look good that the township wasn't committed to this financially, but we wanted to reassure our residents that taxpayer dollars were not going to go into this. That's just something we thought was important. But we have contributed hours and hours and hours of your time and the rest of the staff because we feel, at the time, we felt the project warranted looking into and that it was a viable project. And until we knew the nuts and bolts and dollars and cents, we couldn't make a judgment call. You've made that very easy to understand for us and for the public. And I think that's our contribution. We've put a month of your time and staff's time into this because we know it's important. Whether we agree with it or not, we see the value of it. So I think that's our contribution. You know, it's not a written check, but we have spent some effort.
Yeah, thank you for recognizing that. I'm just a facilitator.
Lynn?
Yes, Dave,
And I'd like to call a question.
you have something?
Yeah, one other final comment is that, which still has concerned me every time I read this agreement, resolution. The one part where Marquette Township will enter into an agreement with the MDOT to own, operate, and maintain the tunnel lighting, non-motorized pathway, and that. If you read into that, financially, sure, we're getting the dollars now to develop it and build it and that. What's gonna happen 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the road on something? Are we gonna have those dollars available to us? So I'm at a quandary right now, which way to go. I can see very good use for it. I see a lot of people wanting it and everything else and that. But I'm also looking to the future for the residents 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years down the road. When you start looking at, we own it, we operate it, and we maintain it, and the tunnel lighting and non-motorized pathway. When you talk about non-motorized pathway, who's going to oversee that? That's a question that's gonna have to be raised, and that too. There's things like this here, so I'm kinda at a quandary as to looking long-term at the township and that. Knowing that at my age, I'm not gonna be around that much longer to.
Who cleans up Schwimmen Park and all the other parks and stuff?
Right.
Well, your sewer and your water, we own all that too, and we have to take care of it, so.
But we pay for that, though.
Roll
too.
call vote.
Yeah, question was called.
Okay, trustee Wiegand,
Yes.
trustee LaRue,
Yes.
trustee Everson,
Yes?
trustee Marks,
No.
treasurer Johnson,
Yes. Reservation, but yes.
clerk Rattari is yes, and supervisor Durant.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Did you get that, Rob?
Yep, I heard
Still
it.
there? Okay. All right, well, you can talk with Randy and Jason and figure out what has to happen next, and let us know.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me call in, and
Yeah.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
You too, I appreciate you doing this for us.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Rob.
Thanks to the Township Board for your common vision. Hopefully, we can move forward as one vision now that this vote has been made. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jason.
Jason.
All right. Mike, you still wanna, I kind of passed you over because of the phone call.
It's okay. It'd be a moot point right now.
Okay. Okay. Save it. Save it.
I'll save it for the next month.
Okay. Okay. Figure out where we are now. 7:45.
We're down at.
Budget.
Policy
Should be
discussion.
budget.
Policy discussion.
Okay. You need a drink? Go ahead, Pete.
No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Policy discussion, consideration, and develop. That includes the 2018 budget adoption.
Let me comment on that, please, Lynn. Okay, this is what we do usually every year. The resolution was actually in the packet last time, and it was not in this packet, but I put it in online, so it is in there now. This is the resolution that we passed to approve the budget for this year. And then right after we do this, we will make a motion also to approve the fee schedule.
So moved.
I support that.
Which one are we moving to?
The Budget Resolution Appropriations Act will be first. And John supported, or made a motion, and I supported that. And it's a roll call vote. This will be in the minutes of the meeting. I'm not going to read it. It's a very lengthy document, very
This is-
dry information in it.
It is the same resolution that you passed on the public hearing on the 5th.
Any comments or questions or issues? Okay, go ahead, Randy.
Trustee Marks.
Yes.
Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee LaRue.
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand.
Yes.
Trustee Everson.
Yes.
Treasurer Johnson.
Yes.
And Supervisor Durant.
Yes.
Motion carries on the Appropriations Act. The next item will be the fee schedule, and that does not have to be a roll call vote.
Did everybody got all of these update documents anyway in your mailboxes? We have a motion
Support.
and support. Questions, issues? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Recommended zoning text amendments, second reading.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry, yes.
budget. You haven't adopted the budget.
The fee sticks, we did the
The
fee.
appropriations doesn't do
No.
that?
No, the appropriations governs how you spend the budget, but you have to adopt the budget.
Okay, I beg your pardon.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt the 2018 budget.
I'll second it.
Now, discussion?
Yes.
Okay. What was presented to you was the consensus budget that went to the public for the public hearing on the 5th of December. That budget was constructed reflecting wages at the 2017 level because the board has not acted as yet in terms of 2018 wages. Sheriff's contract budgeted at 60 hours per week. Health insurance conversion from Priority Health to Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan and the attendant increased cost. Board and commission committee compensation adjustments that the board had previously made, and the water and wastewater budgets were budgeted at the 2017 volume rates, and no planned capital expenditures are carried over for 2018, which was the board's direction. That went to public hearing on the 5th. You received 2 or 3 comments, not many. But the Sheriff's Department was present and had concerns with the 60-hour-a-week proposed change. I see Sheriff Zybert is here, I'm presuming wanting to speak to that, and that's where we are at with the budget.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Randy? Sheriff?
Thank you for the opportunity to come here tonight and speak with you. I did meet with Randy on December 2nd, and we came up with some cost-saving items, among them, and to renew the contract till June and see how those cost-saving measures will work. We were able to keep the hourly rate at the 2017 rate, which reduced the budget some. And then we were able to do some internal cost-saving measures that also hopefully helped. And we will continue to enhance the patrol activity on the US 41 corridor, and hopefully be able to make that 80 hours until June.
Yeah, I had, Sheriff and I had met. I met with Sheriff, the Undersheriff, and Captain, the Road Patrol Captain, shortly after our last meeting. And I did send an email out to the board members kind of recapping that meeting. But basically what came out of that was, at the December 5th meeting, you heard the sheriff indicate that, it's brand new. First time, this is his first budget as the sheriff, and had already made some changes that we weren't aware of with regard to the retail fraud, which was one of the major concerns that the board had, was the amount of time that was being spent off the road and off of patrol processing retail fraud claims that in many cases took our deputy off the road for the remainder of the shift. We were not aware that they had made some changes to the structure, that our road patrol deputy will not be the one processing those any longer, so it dramatically reduced the amount of time that they would be pulled off of the road and be processing retail fraud cases. So we did engage in a fairly lengthy discussion on a variety of issues that have been concerns to the board over the years, and came to an agreement that we want to put before the board, that we would agree to renew the contract at 80 hours a week for 2018 with the provision that the Sheriff's Department come back at the close of June, mid-year, to do a review of cost-saving measures that have been put into place. He's already mentioned one, that they have agreed to not increase the rate for 2018, keep it at the 2017 wage rate. But beyond that, where we had instances where our deputy would not be available and would be covered by overtime shifts, they will not be doing that any longer. The shift to be covered by regular scheduled patrol shifts, so we would not incur those overtime costs. They would be supplementing our patrol car with standard patrol car that would reduce the miles that are driven on that car, that would push our responsibility to replace that vehicle off for at least another year, which saves us about almost $20,000 in the 2019 budget. And when we have scheduled holidays, per se, where we would be paying overtime for our deputy, it would be covered by regular patrol shifts. So we would still have the coverage, and it would reduce our costs. And those are some items, as well as several other things that the captain and the sheriff and undersheriff had in mind that could further reduce the costs to the budget. So what we would be asking is that the board consider remaining at 80 hours a week with a review as of June 30th, and then make a determination as to what you do going forward for the remainder of the year in 2018.
Dave?
I'm curious what the total budget savings would be. I mean, we were initially, when we reduced it to 60 hours, we were talking about $48,000 savings on the budget. What does this new contract, what would that impact as opposed to the 48?
Right off the bat, it wouldn't be $48,000, obviously. There would be an immediate reduction, because we had included a 3% increase in cost for 2018, and that has been taken out. That dropped it from about $5,000-6,000 right there to begin with. The overtime shifts are significant because those add up quickly. We don't have a cost for you right now. That's what we were asking, is to let the sheriff and his staff come up with changes and then evaluate how they've done as of June 30th.
So we did come up with a couple numbers, Randy, when we looked at this. The manager recommendation and the department request were just 5,000 difference, but it's 195, 189 was the manager recommendation in the original budget. And the board adoption in this budget is 146, 392. So that would be on the 60 hours. And we figured, even with the 3%, that drops it to 142. But the 3% saving on the original 195 would make it 189. So it's still cheaper than what we were expecting to budget.
Well, and beyond that, you know, the deferral of having to finance the vehicle for an additional year cuts about almost $20,000 off the 2019 budget, not off the 2018 budget, but the 2019 budget going forward. We have 12 holidays, you know, so those would have all been overtime shifts for, 8 hours a day, 16 hours, for the 2 shifts. So, those are going to be fairly significant savings, but I cannot give you a number at this point. That's why we had a number of items that the sheriff had an idea that he would like to try, and we don't know what the direct impact of that would be, so we're asking for a 6-month leave to produce that.
So how do we, sorry, I know you have your hands up. How do we don't have to sign his contract or their contract till the 31st, right? Because it's the end
December.
of the year.
Correct.
So,
January 1 is the date.
Okay. So would the department put a contract together with this terminology, have Roger look at it, and then, because we don't meet again until after the 1st.
Correct.
The budget part doesn't matter, as Randy, or Ernie even pointed out. We can approve this at 60 and then change it. That's not a problem. But I'm wondering how the contract,
We did put a draft contract together, and basically it's the same contract as you had in 2017 with the provision that it would be reviewed as of June 30th.
okay. John?
I think the manager's suggestion and what he's worked out with the sheriff is very good for all of us. I propose that we simply adopt that, accept it with the understanding that, is it June?
Yes, as of June 30th.
As of June 30th, we will review it and go back at it, but it seems to me that those are all good thoughts, and we should adopt that.
Ernie?
This is a consent budget which we've gone through, and it's been laid out under 60 hours a week and everything else in that. Personally, it's a living document. So if we approve this tonight as that, with the understanding that on the on the January 2nd meeting, that the manager will come back with all this information for us at that point in time, then we can then make the decision officially to go forward. I know what John's saying, and I know what the sheriff would like to have, but I think looking at it strictly from a board standpoint,
That's
to prove the consent to budget, knowing full understanding at the January 2nd meeting, we're coming back with information from the manager, so we know what we're talking about, as far as financially in that. So.
The record.
So, but we have to sign the contract by December 31st, or not?
I think we have some flexibility there.
An extra day, basically, till the 2nd.
Ask for an extension for 2 weeks.
Pete?
This is one of the issues I would say about same as some of the road discussions we've had with some of the residents and the business people. I know there's one business person up on Big Bay Highways having a problem with people coming in wrecking things, tearing things out. Many people have told me that they don't like the idea of cutting back. I learned from the meeting that Greg was here, Sheriff Seibert was here before, that he made some changes. I think that was the biggest thing with me. It takes 2 hours for one thing. If we get 17, that's 14 hours, for filing and getting them back. So that really bothered me a lot. But since that's taken care of, I think I think the residents sort of deserve it if we can find a way to pay for it.
Dave?
Yeah, I guess the biggest concern for me is the budget impact, and one way it's $48,000, and the other way we don't know what it is. I agree with Treasurer Johnson. We ought to leave the budget the way it is right now, and if we take a look at the contract and what they're actually proposing on the first meeting in January, if we want to adopt it, it's a simple budget amendment to take care of it.
I did have a conversation, I had a call Saturday night, I think, at home, from a resident in one of the subdivisions. And he also wanted to leave it at 80 hours. And he said, I've seen the sheriff patrol car in the subdivision at 10 o'clock in the morning. He said, I'm in a quiet subdivision, so they don't have to come over here if it's more important that they're out on the other roads. And I said, well, maybe it's quiet there because they are there. So he says, I'm not complaining, but I just want, he was kind of volunteering his time and making sure we were on the corridor somewhere. So he said, I just wanted to share my thoughts and support the sheriff. And I said, that's absolutely great.
I'm a better driver because of Sheriff Seibert.
We all are.
I doubt it.
We better even get better if they're going to be out there more.
Yeah, I think we can.
First time they pull over one of us, we're in trouble.
I think we can pretty well, by your meeting for January 2nd, we can have a calculation for you, estimate.
Sounds good. If that's all right with you, Sheriff, to just
fine.
give us an extra day.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ernie.
I'll move to accept the consent budget as presented.
It's actually, there's a motion on the floor already.
Yep.
I just want to make sure.
And I don't think we have to do a roll call vote, but we'll do one just in case, just to make it. Roger always tells me it's better to do it than not, so. Clerk retires, yes. Trustee LaRue?
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Trustee Everson?
Yes.
Trustee Marks?
Yes.
Treasurer Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Durant?
Yes.
Motion carries. We have a 2018 budget.
As a motion to have the manager provide us with the necessary documentation for increasing from 60 to 80 hours at the January 2nd meeting.
He's going to do it anyway.
I don't think you need a motion for that.
Okay.
I have a directive.
I'll make sure it's on the next agenda. Okay.
Pretty sure if I don't, I'll probably be residing in a small cell.
You can arrange that.
Well, I think he can arrange it.
All right, we have a budget. I think next year we'll put these separately on the agenda. We'll put appropriations and the fee schedule and the budget separate.
They
So,
typically are.
Thank you for reminding me, Randy. Okay, now we can go to the recommended zoning text amendment. Thanks for coming, Sheriff. I want to mention that.
As always, whenever you need, just give me a call.
Awesome. Thanks. Merry Christmas. Thanks. This is the second reading on the text amendments from the the planning department regarding definitions, pedestrian connectivity, tiny homes, and accessory structures. Calls to Jason.
I don't have a fancy presentation for you tonight because I figured our meeting was going to run long. I also didn't receive any phone calls or any additional comments regarding any questions or concerns from any of the trustees, any residents. I've only heard really positive comments on this matter. So, you know, the nice thing about zoning is that you can try something, and if it doesn't work, you can change it. We're trying to be forward-thinking and progressive and be out in front of things, issues, zoning issues, et cetera. And we feel that this is a positive step in the right direction to identify through definitions certain terms such as camper, cargo container, shipping container, tiny homes to be added to the definitions in the zoning ordinance, as well as to allow for tiny homes to be constructed with a special use permit in our residential zoning districts, as well as to prohibit the use of shipping containers to be used as residential accessory structures, and as well as to add some, in my opinion, some great pedestrian connectivity. I mean, we just got done talking about an underpass and connecting trails, pathways. This only enhances that effort of the township, which is in our master plan and in our recreation plan, to continue to develop non-motorized pathways in the community for all users of the right-of-way. So this is only an additional catalyst to that, in my opinion. Be happy to answer any questions.
Anything for our planner? We did, excuse me, we always send these over to the county planning and have them look at it and give their opinion. And they did a couple sentences. Regarding the tiny homes amendments, Marquette Township appears to have held several meetings regarding the topic. The amendments seem to reflect the public input received. As tiny homes increase in popularity, a proactive approach with zoning regulations is recommended. The township, through previous and current planning initiatives and is defined in their master plan, has a strong focus on improving walkability and mobility, Using regulations as a mechanism to achieve goals set forth in a master plan is a primary function of a zoning ordinance. Marquette County Planning Commission voted unanimously to support the amendments. So that gives you an idea how they feel, too. Anything for Jason? Because we had kind of asked him for more detail, so I wasn't sure what you needed. A motion, then?
Yes.
Yes, Dave.
I would make a motion to accept the second reading of the zoning text amendment.
And I'll second that.
Motion and support. Any other questions?
Roll call?
Yes, sir?
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Trustee LaRue?
Yes.
Trustee Trustee Everson.
Yes.
Trustee Marks.
No?
Treasurer Johnson.
Yes.
Secretary is yes, and Supervisor Durant.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Thanks, Jace.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah.
You too.
And you.
Thanks
Lynn?
for all your hard work.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
I talked to the person up in Iron Mountain about Dickinson Homes, and I talked to him about his tiny house, designs and stuff like that, and they said that they're not getting the small ones, the real small ones. They're getting more that starts around $42 to $72 to $140,000 tiny homes. And some of the comments, they're very, very popular in Arizona, Texas, and that end over there. Detroit's going to take a two block wide, and they're going to put tiny homes in it. It's like a community. They come up with a tiny homes community. They're trying that down there for 2 blocks and just put them all in one versus going out. And so it's not going away. There's a blog out there, but support at mytinyhouse.blog. And it's kind of interesting in people writing comments and stuff like that. So everything I read is they're not going away, but you have to control it. So.
Okay, thanks. Next, consider hourly rate increase for Bensinger, Cotant, and Menkes. This is, I believe you also had it in your packet.
Roger wants more money.
Well, he had a 3-year agreement that he stretched to 4 without a pay raise, and I think his request is extremely
Very reasonable. So
Very reasonable.
very reasonable, yes. Thank you.
if you go outside of,
Don't bring it up. Don't let him
Don't
think.
give him any ideas.
well, he knows, I mean. So it is, we are getting a pretty good deal from
Yes.
Roger, even though we have to supply him everything.
John, go ahead.
I've watched our attorney for, I think, almost 10 years. And I've watched with interest because I think we have an exceptional attorney working for us. I don't think that the increase that's asked for is out of line at all. It's very conservative, and I'd like to not belabor it by just making a motion that we grant it.
Support.
Lots of support. Comments, suggestions? Ernie?
Trying to piggyback on what John says. You talked 25 years ago, that's approximately the time I was a trustee back then when we actually engaged that law firm. And through the years, I think they've done everything the township needed and more on that. So I have no problem with that. And I think all the individuals who have representative from the time I was strictly involved with it have done an excellent job in that too, so.
No matter what you're doing nowadays, you know, much as, you'd like to not have to have an attorney all the time, but, if you don't have one, you can get some pretty good, deep trouble, and it's gonna cost you more money. And I've watched and listened to Roger here, and he gives suggestions and different things like that to board members, or the board as a whole, the supervisor, the manager, and, I think he keeps us out of that hole that you could very easily drop into, so. Thank you.
Randy?
Just to echo the other comments, yeah, in the long run, it's better to have an attorney present, keep us out of legal problems, because it would cost you a lot more money in the long run.
Well, and like Roger said, it's just so much easier on him to do anything for us when he already knows what's going on every meeting. It's so much easier. But for me, changing seats here it was just awesome having him, that resource available for what I could and couldn't do. And, I call, he answers my call. I have absolutely the utmost respect for him because he's been so great for the township and for me in my transition. And, you know, we visited quickly, and I missed one thing to tell him I didn't even know. So I'm glad he brought it up today. But
He's always looking out for our best
yeah,
interest.
it's just so great. Ernie?
Going back in time, I think it was Mike Summers, I think, was the individual at the time back in the 90s, and that he came aboard at that time from that law firm. And it's been positive all the way down the line.
Yeah, good for him. This is a contract, we need a roll call? No? Okay.
Just approve it, it's just changing the rate, that's all.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thanks, Roger.
Thank you. Consider it a privilege. It has been. It'll be 25 years, effective January 1, that Mike Summers and I took over.
Gosh.
Positions. Considered it a privilege.
Mike's retired now, isn't he?
Yes, for many years.
Don't give him any ideas. You're not getting a gold watch, though, or anything,
Yeah.
sorry.
Roger still got dark hair, so he's not ready yet.
We haven't made him gray, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, been too easy on him.
Okay, consider 2018 bills payable approval list.
Lynn, this is just what we do every year, so we don't have to come to the board every time we pay these vendors. They're already pre-approved. And there's only one change from last year, and I think it was just a name change, so. I make a motion to approve the 2018 bills payable list.
Okay.
Motion and support, any questions? Just for the public, so they know, this is stuff like
Every day thing.
loan payments that we have to make. We have to approve this stuff, and we can't always have a board meeting. State of Michigan income tax withholding, refilling the postage machine, the Verizon, City of Marquette water, you know, camera operator, Blue Cross Blue Shield. We need approval on all of this, so we have to do it this way because the dates come down when we're in between our meetings. Go ahead, Ernie.
Because it's done in between our meetings, the checks are all signed by the clerk and the treasurer at all times and that, so we always look at them as much as possible, and we have questions, we asked whoever has okayed it, what it's all about and that. So they're all viewed. Just because it doesn't come to the board for final approval, they are reviewed all the time.
And I review all the billings before they go through.
I review Roger's bill. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Lois will be happy. Consider resolution for officer salaries. This is, this is something that Clerk Rattari brought up, and it's in your packet. Do you want to comment, John?
I just wanted to get off the dime. I'll make a motion that the supervisor's salary be changed as revised in the resolution prepared.
You need these separately, Randy?
Yes, because they're all separate resolutions.
Okay.
And it should say the dollar amount.
Okay, for changing the amount of the salary to $14,210 for the fiscal year 2018.
Support.
Dave?
I have a question based on our last time we talked about this. I was of the understanding that this was going to use the same formula that was used for the rest of the employees' increases, but I guess it come out looking a lot different than I thought it would. Is that formula being used, or we just
Yes.
come up with?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, Ernie?
Just one comment for the public is the last time the salaries were adjusted at all was in the year 2009, I believe it was.
Yep. Thanks for that. John?
I move,
Have to take one at a time.
Yeah.
we're on the second one, aren't we?
We're on the
No, not yet.
Didn't vote.
Because
Haven't voted yet.
Dave asked a question.
Come on, John.
And he's got one more.
Voted yet.
One more?
Let's do
On
two
this
for one.
In general, yes.
Okay.
This appears to be a raise for this year, but is that formula makes an adjustment every year, is that correct?
It does, yes.
Does this have to be revisited every year, or do we?
Yes. It does.
Statutorily, you do have, if you're changing your salary, it has to be a resolution.
I guess that was my question originally, is if we adopted the same policy, would that not take care of it year after year until we changed it?
No, you need to, if you're going to make a change.
He's earning his money again.
You need to change it. You cannot bind future boards on certain types of things, and it would be
Okay.
really questionable whether you could just automatically implement a cost of living adjustment, for example. You need to pass upon the actual increase each time that an increase is implemented.
Okay,
Good enough.
makes sense. And we're not talking about a whole lot. It's like $100 a year, $200 a year.
I
for
was
each
just
of
talking
us.
principle.
Yeah. But just so the public knows, this is not like, a $5,000 raise or anything.
Our ink expense at home is more than that.
Yeah. Okay, then this is a roll call.
Yep. Trustee Marks,
Yes.
trustee Everson,
Yes?
trustee LaRue,
Yes.
trustee Wiegand,
Yes.
treasurer Johnson,
Yes.
clerk Rattari is yes, and supervisor Durant.
Yes.
And yes, you can vote on
I
your own
was just going to
salary.
say, yes, you can vote on your own.
Motion carries.
Okay, ready.
Next is the resolution for officers' salaries, which is, in this case, is clerks. You want to do another motion? Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that the resolution for the officer's salary for the clerk be revised for the year. It shall be set for $13,195 for the fiscal year 2018 for the clerk.
Support.
Support? Okay. Comments?
You supported that, Ernie, or?
Both of them,
Okay.
Ernie and Dan.
I or Dan, whoever you want to write down.
No matter.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead, Randy.
trustee Marks,
Yes.
treasurer Johnson,
Yes.
trustee Everson,
Yes.
trustee Wiegand,
Yes.
trustee LaRue,
Yes.
clerk Rattari is yes, and supervisor Durant.
Yes.
Motion carries.
John?
I make a motion that the resolution for the officer's salary for the office of treasurer, that the set amount for the year 2018 be 9,643.
Support?
Where will you get the money?
In the budget.
I had to do it, Ernie.
You took all my money already.
We did take some.
You took some, you took all of
A
it.
little bit, yep. Staff. Go ahead, Randy.
Trustee Marks,
I'm all,
Yes.
yes.
trustee Everson,
Yes.
trustee Wiegand,
Yes.
trustee LaRue,
Yes.
treasurer Johnson,
Yes.
clerk Rattari is yes, and supervisor Durant.
Yes.
Motion carries. One more resolution.
John?
I'm all done.
I'll make a motion that we approve trustee salary to the amount of $3,857 for fiscal year 2018.
Support.
Questions? By the way, that's not a $3,800 increase, that's the amount.
For
Just-
each
just so-
trustee.
Yeah, just so the public knows. Go ahead, Randy.
Catch up here.
It's okay.
Clerk Rattari is yes. Treasurer Johnson.
Yes.
Trustee LaRue.
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand.
Yes.
Trustee Everson.
Yes.
Trustee Marks.
No.
No.
And Supervisor Durant.
Yes, he didn't want to raise. Neither did Dave.
Motion carries.
Okay. We already,
Just so the residents know, these adjustments made for our salaries are less than $1,000. So it's not very much for
for the whole year.
the whole year. And if you look at the past 9 years, it isn't very much. It's a 1.5% raise over 9 years.
Okay. did the resolutions. We're down to pulled items from the consent agenda, which we did not. Board committee updates, recreation, roads, planning. So I think a good part of those come from you, unless you want to have Pete.
Actually, we have no updates from the roads, so you got that update on the December 5th meeting for the December 5th road committee meeting. The planning commission, their last meeting last week, approved a site plan review for the Riverside dealership up on the corner of, I guess we'll call it the Target Walmart intersection. And the rec committee, I guess we're done. We got the resolution passed, so. But that's it, unless somebody has some questions. All the minutes are in there and the draft minutes are in there.
The dealership, are they going to be starting on it this year that you're aware of or not?
No, I don't think so. They might do some preliminary stuff, but I don't think they're gonna do anything till spring.
You won't see any construction until spring.
In 2019.
That's what I mean, this coming spring.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, any questions for, yep, we're gonna do that. Anything for Dave? No? Pete, anything you want to add?
No, and we got it done.
Okay. Committee appointment, Planning Commission and Rec Committee. I'm going to leave this appointment on here on a regular basis, this spot, because believe it or not, all these committees do not renew at the end of the year. Some of them are in the middle of the year. So I'm going to keep it on there as a reminder, because it's too easy to forget that. So, Kelly Hillier-Genshaw has asked to be on the Rec Committee. And we have one or two Rec Committee members who would like to retire anyway. So, do you want to come up and introduce yourself, Kel, and say hi to everybody? And we like to do that. Come on up here, just so the public can see you too. Because if you're going to be out, you know, working on the trails, and
They can't hear you otherwise.
they can't hear or see you, please. Just so everybody knows.
Hi, is it on?
Yep.
My name is Kelly Genshaw, and I am interested in being on the rec committee. I'm ready to give back a little bit to my community and my township, so, thank you.
We're so happy. It's just lovely.
Did you have any questions for me?
Anything for Kelly?
By staying here since she's interested.
Yeah.
She's also on a couple other committees, so, yep, she's been a big help, a newbie. So I would recommend to the board that we appoint her to the Recreation Committee.
Support.
Hang on a second.
Has to be a motion first.
Roger, no. Do we have to have the resignation of one of the rec committees first, or because it's just an arm of us? We don't have to be that official?
You don't. Of this nature, not necessarily. That's much more critical for things like the Planning Commission, the Board of Review, where you've got a statutorily mandated number that you have to have. For the Recreation Committee, that can actually expand or contract in numbers without any particular violation of
Okay.
anything. So,
Because our bylaws in there says that you really can't get off of the committee until you have a replacement. We try to do that as much as we can, so I wanted to make sure, so we can tell that committee member that they're welcome to retire then. It's because Kelly's accepting. So, Dave?
Yeah, I just want to point out that the committee member who is desiring to get off, and we won't let him until he has a replacement, he said he could leave at any time. He's no longer going to be available in the summertime for sure. So he said if we had somebody that wanted the position, that he would be more than happy to vacate early.
Okay. So your next meeting is when?
The third Tuesday in January.
So, Mr. Springer introduce yourselves. Okay, good.
Try to get a picture of that.
We can get you her address, her email address, or you can give it to him? Okay, good. And get her the packets and all that. That'll be awesome. See, it's so much easier when everybody's here. Yes, Ernie?
Motion.
Oh, yeah, I know.
You recommended it,
Yeah. Did we get,
well, you recommended it and Ernie supported it,
Yeah.
so you can actually make a motion.
yeah, I just usually don't. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks.
I'm just trying to get it moving.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. Well, she's here, wanted to make sure she was recognized. Okay, the next one for an appointment is, the first thing we have to do is accept Steve Pelto's resignation from the Planning Commission effective January 1st, 2018.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
With our
Then-
appreciation.
Oh, absolutely. I asked him, I told him we'd probably do something, at our next meeting in January and thank him. And he said, just let him know. So we'll probably do a plaque or something for him. Then next, I am recommending that we appoint Leanne Kashmarsky to the Planning Commission, also effective January 1st of 18. You have her application in front of you. I called her and asked her if she'd be willing and able, and she was all willing and able. She's been on our events committee, if you remember. She's worked a lot on our August, and I don't know if she worked on the car show. She's already familiar with a lot of us and a lot of our activities. So, and she is a realtor, so she's gonna bring that to the committee, the planning commission.
And she
So-
asked me about it when she was in church, so. Are you making the motion?
Yes, I will.
I'll second, okay. Take your pick.
And then just to clarify, that's just gonna be to fill the remaining term of Steve.
Right,
Correct.
I did tell her that. And I have that here, that's gonna be to, next December of 19.
Of 19?
Yep. So it's just a one-year term
2 years.
for right now.
2-year term for
2 years.
Oh, 18,
December
19, you're
19.
right, sorry. Okay.
So you made the motion.
And you seconded?
No, I think.
I or
Ernie did.
Pete, take your pick.
Ernie did.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, public comment. It's a long agenda.
Mike Springer, Eagles Nest Road. Just a quick comment. I want to thank this board for your support on this tunnel. This is a major thing. It's going to be really great for our community and our future. And I just can't thank you enough. A lot of people put a lot of time into this, and thanks for recognizing that.
Thanks, Mike. Mike did have a presentation, just like a 7-minute one that I reviewed, and I told him to keep it. So it might be appropriate, when we cut the ribbon or sign the contract or something. And tell everybody who doesn't know what's going on why we're doing that. Anything else, anybody? Okay, announcements. Anything anybody wants to share? Other than Merry Christmas to everybody.
2018 is going to be midterm elections. We'll have 2 elections in 2018. We'll have an August and November election. As of now, the only other election date we could have is in May, and that would be possibly a school election. However, I don't think that's going to happen. But so we only have 3 possible dates in 2018 we could have elections. And if anyone is interested in getting to be an election inspector, we'll probably have some classes in probably mid-spring to summer 2018. Contact either myself or Lois, and we can get you folks signed up for the classes because you have to be certified to work elections. So I'm always looking for new people. Some of our election inspectors are getting old and tired, and so I'm trying to work new people in, and it's a great experience. You talk to some of them that have worked in the past, so that's all I have.
Lynn, I have.
Anything else? Yep, Pete?
I'm still looking for people to find out if people or the residents are interested in have a senior meet sometime maybe once a week in the township here. And if you're interested, call the township and then I'll get your name and we can talk about it and I'll explain what we're thinking about and I'll follow up on it from there.
So you're just kind of suggesting, just so they have an
I
idea?
suggested a couple,
like
couple meetings
cards
ago.
or-
Yeah, it was set up in Chocolate before. I was involved in that one. And the Lions Club was, I should say. And they go Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 4. They go there, they have snacks, they all throw in a dollar or something like that to help pay for the coffee and the snacks and that. They play cards, they just talk or whatever, any other game. But it just gets the people of the residents of the township up here to see what we have and just sort of enjoy it because this is theirs, so. It's just an idea I had, thinking about it for a while, so I just thought I'd throw it out there. If someone's interested, let me know and I'll, follow up on it and set something up.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Any announcements? Excuse me.
Want something for me to do.
Right. Some place for you to go, hey?
Yeah, for Dave.
Manager's report.
I will be brief. Just for the public's edification, for the Christmas holiday observance, we will be closed on Monday, the 25th, and Tuesday, the 26th of December. So the township offices will not be open. However, if you need services, we have on-call staff, so you simply call the office number 228-6220, follow the prompts to get the on-call service worker to respond. Health insurance, our change conversion from Priority Health to Blue Cross has been completed, so we will be effective January 1st. They got notice yesterday that all the paperwork has been processed, it's been accepted, and we will be simply moving over to Blue Cross Blue Shield as of January 1. The Marquette Energy Center, we continue to get reports in. We've received 2 this week of noise issues. Well, I shouldn't say noise issue. I don't know exactly what the issue was, but we did get 2 reports in today, this week actually. And really, that's about it.
That's 15.
Yep, it is.
When those gentlemen were here from Finland or wherever it was, did they ever come over the township to meet with anybody in the township and that?
They did not. They were simply here to do their noise studies. I believe they did visit properties. Excuse me. BLP had called and gotten addresses and names, and so far we haven't heard any of them are missing, so I think that went okay. But at any event, they did go to the properties and visit with the people as well as do the noise studies. Problem that they had is that we had some fairly significant snowfall while they were here, and that muffled the sound somewhat, so they may be coming back to redo the sound studies. But we were not involved in that directly with BLP, other than providing them the information.
I think they'd come up and talk to us anyways.
These were technicians, they were technical
No, I mean,
folks that
like
they came, I
Mr.
believe.
Carpenter
Well, I
should
believe
come
that-
up, attend the meeting.
Yeah, I believe they will when they have some information back from these folks. I believe that, they've been very, very responsive, and I suspect that you will be hearing from them as soon as they get any information back from these folks.
Yeah, kind of a fact finding. Anything else for the manager? Randy, review our motions.
I have one other thing for the
sure.
manager. I just wanted to wish him a happy birthday.
Oh.
Oh.
When's your birthday today?
How's that?
Huh, is it?
That cat's out of the bag now, I guess.
I think you'd appreciate it if I didn't sing a happy birthday. I think you'd really appreciate that if I didn't.
Well, as the years keep going by, it'll have to get louder and louder.
Then one of these days, I wish the manager, when he gets on, said, Dave brought it up, I come across a couple of notes, Dave brought it up about a portable generator.
Mhm.
If we ever get a price on something like that, it'd be kind of interesting.
We are looking for one as we speak.
The one on Lincoln Avenue.
I've been eyeballing the one on Grove Street, too.
Yeah, I was looking at Lincoln's too.
They both have hitches on them.
Hey, did you find out anything about the underground cable? Or?
906, I'm meeting with them tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. 906, and I will get further information on that. But they suspect that the cable probably is, or the conduit is large enough. The question is it too far for a cable to carry the power? So.
That's right. That's the big question.
Yeah. So, but we are looking at a mobile generator as well couple of different sizes, trailer mounted that we could put right back here and relatively easily move most of the year. But
I know Randy has tried different times to contact somebody either with cable company or whoever, but I'm concerned one of these times that over by our recreation bathrooms in that warming shed, that wire is gonna work its way through on.
oh, you mean the power?
Short it out.
I don't know, what's it been now, Dave? What, 2 years they've been going to remove that pole and cable?
Yep.
It's AT&T,
Good luck.
cable cutters.
I move to adjourn.
No, we're not finished yet.
Oh. We got private session coming up.
Randy, motions passed?
Okay, we had 16 motions tonight, so I'll try to get through those as fast as possible. The first motion was the consent agenda. Second motion was approval of the agenda with a few adjustments. The third motion was the passing of the MDOT resolution, the first one. The fourth motion was the Appropriation Act resolution of the budget passed. Motion 5 was the fee schedule passed. Motion 6 was the 2018 budget approval. Motion 7 was the second reading of the text amendment passed. Motion 8 was to give the lawyer a raise, change the rate of the hour. Motion 9 was to approve the bills payable list. Motion 10 was to approve the supervisor's salary. Motion 11 was to approve the clerk's salary. Motion 12 was to approve the treasurer's salary. Motion 13 was to approve the trustee's salary. Motion 14 was to appoint Kelly Genshaw to the rec committee. Motion 15 was to accept Steve Pelto's resignation from the Planning Commission effective January 1. And motion 16 was to appoint Leanne Kazmierski to the Planning Commission as of January 1 to fill out Steve Pelto's term. And that's it. And the only action item that the supervisor is going to have to take care of is get a work session scheduled for early January for our annual plan of work.
And the only other thing for future agendas for the January 2nd will be the Board of Review resolution dates. We'll get that clarified. Sheriff's contract that I know of so far. Okay. Board member comment?
Got one.
Merry Christmas.
Go ahead, Randy.
Would like to wish all the residents a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And it's the 19th today. 3 days from now, the days will start getting longer once again.
Two things I want to ask of the public. We have 2 slots open on the Downtown Development Authority, and that group is going to be working on the corridor improvements between now and 2021. So, and maybe beyond. We could use some help. It's, we're meeting quarterly, so it's not a great big thing unless we call a special meeting. So if you know of anybody or if you're interested in participating, I would appreciate that. And just a reminder, especially for some who aren't following our meetings, the township does have an email list from, well, like 400, I believe, residents. So if you want to know something, we do email blasts in addition to what we put maybe in the utility bills or something like that. If you want to be one of the first, give us your email address. Just call the office, and it's not something that happens every day or every month or even every week, but something important comes up, we want to be able to let everybody know. It's a good way of notifying you. So I just wanted to do those 2 reminders. I don't have anything else. Any other board member?
One more thing. Some of the, we kind of erred when we put the agenda together, like the bills payable list should have been in the consent agenda. So we're still kind of struggling into the policy governance, but I think we should applaud ourselves tonight with this long agenda, and we're only like 2 hours and 10 minutes with this meeting.
Lots of public comment.
A lot of public comment and a lot of good discussion, and we really kept on task tonight and moved forward really, I think, efficiently, so.
Thanks. That's a lot coming from you because you're usually watching the clock, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I think this is making a difference.
Take it back.
One more motion?
I'll make it this time.
Okay.
Make a motion that we adjourn.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. 8:42.